Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are, first up, he's ABW's fearless leader. It's Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Shouldn't I be co-leader?
I don't feel like much of a leader today, as you can tell. I'm full of cold.
Is that because I irked you again?
You just don't irk me. You just have no people skills. I swear you're fucking autistic.
Well, they just get straight to the point. At no point do I ever say anything to anyone, and they go, "I wonder what he means by that."
I know, seriously, and I've said it for years. You are like Brian Potter. Do you know who Brian Potter is?
Of course I do. His club burnt down. Sad times.
Do you have a club, and will it burn down?
I did have. Max and Paddy stole it.
Oh, that's fair enough. Is there anything else you want to? What have you been up to this week apart from ordering about 3 tons of offal?
I got them to deliver it in a skip, and it's all over the front of my garden. I put a stick through the letterbox. I just grab some offal, pull it through the letterbox, and eat it raw. The Meat Man. Let's get them to sponsor us, themeatman.com, and bought a load of meat off there. A friend, someone I've known for years, Ed, he used it, and there's some bloke off of Twitter, he used it, and he's really happy with it. It's just really nice quality steak and things like that. So I thought, rather than giving Tesco's money for bits of old gristle that's probably been on the floor, I thought this bloke only deals with local farms in the area. You order one day before 3, it's there the next day in a chilled box. Lovely.
But they sent you chicken sausages, which, let's be honest, is only one up from chicken fingers, and they're fucking vermin.
Well, I don't get on with the stuff because I'm the gluten in and the other stuff in them. I think it made me a little bit ill. But the steak things are lovely. Yeah, so I bought 12 rump steaks, 20-odd quid. No, about 26 quid.
You're an animal. It's practically cannibalism.
I get them, wave them in front of a candle, they're done, and I eat it.
Jesus Christ. Right, next up, the man with more sauces than a truck stop burger van. It's Geoff Arsenal. Hello, Geoff.
Yeah, no, but that's a good intro, mate. I'm retired out of the game. You know that, Gim.
But you do have snippets.
The only sauce I'm into now is the hot chili sauce, and you know what? I'm a daddy's man rather than the HP sauce, Gim. What about you?
It's all muck, to be honest. Brown sauce just reminds me of diarrhea, so I don't put it anywhere near my food.
Have they got different gear up there in Wales?
No, but they do like gravy and chips, which again is just fucking weird.
Oh, it's got gravy. You've got water up there and everything, then, yeah?
Oh yeah, we got water and stuff, but only when it snows and it rolls off the mountains.
Good luck to you. Nice to be back anyway. It's been a while. It seems like it's been months again.
It has been a while, Geoff, and it's lovely to have you back.
Well, you used to be gone were the days where you used to be calling me weekly. Oh, Geoff, can you come on this week? Blah blah blah. Now I've got to send a message to Danny to say, when am I on next before I get another call?
Too busy fucking moonlighting with that Hilton lot. That's what it is, Geoff. Don't think I know. I fucking got eyes and ears. But I didn't listen. I don't know myself.
The stalker.
Right. Next up, the man with the best hair in sports entertainment. It's Simon Collings. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Gim. How you doing?
Oh, I'm a little bit under the weather, as I'm sure you can hear, but I'm here. And I'm optimistic about what we've got to talk about, Bournemouth aside.
I know, I'm excited. We've got Geoff on in the January transfer window. I think that's one good signing we've made already. So
exactly. And our next guest, is he back with us? Let me go and have a look, see if he's back. Is he back? Could you confirm he's back? He did drop. He's not back.
He's fashionably late.
Oh, Dave was here. He was here second.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Let's go and hide, so when he comes back, he doesn't know where we are.
I can make out on David.
Yeah, I was going to say, seeing as David has done such a wonderful impression of Geoff over the last couple of months, I see it only right that Geoff hits back with his own unique impression of David. So, and finally, everybody's favourite holic. It's Goonaholic David. Hello, David.
Hello, Gimli. Thank you very much, sir. You're such a kind gentleman.
What happened?
Geoff was pretending to be you.
Oh dear.
There he is. There's only one
irony.
There's only one Goonaholic.
I feel, David, you have to now hit back with a get down dog.
Maybe later.
Oh, he's saving it for the end. Go on, Gimli. Reintroduce Mr. Holic.
Okay. And next up, everybody's favourite holic. It is, of course, Goonaholic David. Hello, David.
Good evening. You always give me a wonderful introduction, Gim. Very impressed.
That's
I don't
because I
deserve
like you. That's because I like you. Not that like that shit show Danny.
And by the way, thank you very much for the old birthday appreciation last Thursday, just to show that I do listen to the show even when I'm not on it.
Did you have a nice day?
Yeah, it was excellent. Went down to Cornwall, spent a bit of time with my sister, had some good food, some good drink, you know, as you do.
Did I see that you met a certain Gianfranco Zola this week?
Oh, yeah, not this week, sadly. That goes back a year or two. But I was at a bash with him, Jean-Pierre Papin, Robert Perez, and a Milan oldie whose name escapes me.
Paolo Maldini?
No. It wasn't anyone that globally well known, which is why I can't remember who the hell it was.
I was going to actually tweet that picture of Zola and say one legend, and then he's with Zola.
No, that's embarrassing.
That would have been good.
It would have been good. So now then, we'll go over to Danny for all of the scores across the board at Alone Watch.
If you can be bothered.
If you can be bothered.
Well, I have done. Magnificent win midweek. The under-23s had Man United as visitors, smashed them 4-0. David, you watched some of that, didn't you?
Yeah, it was pretty impressive stuff. I don't know how strong the United side was because, of course, they had the cup tie the same night, didn't they? So I don't know whether that was them full strength. But if it was, then at that level, we are streets ahead of them because we won the away game as well, 3-2, I think.
Greek boy looked good, didn't he, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a sizer, though, isn't he? He's a real unit.
Absolute unit, yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Well, Man United, there's 12 teams in the league. Spurs are bottom with 9 points. Man United are second bottom with 11. That'll do me. Those two get relegated. Everyone's happy. We're third in the league now with 26 points. Liverpool are top with 30 and Leicester are second with 29. Yeah, so Eddie Nikita scored 2. The Geoff scored 1 and Mike's favourite, the Vlad, he scored 1 as well. So that was the under-23s done. Magnificent result. Then the under-18s, we had Fulham come and say hello. Fulham were 2-0 up. Is that Tammy Abraham? That can't be Tammy. Oh, Timmy Abraham. Wonder if they're related. Timmy and Tammy. That'd be funny. They were 2-0 up after half an hour. And then we had someone whose first name begins with an X. Xavier. Oh, that's a great name for a boy. Xavier Amachi scored. And then who's the R? For Robbie Burton scored. Finished 2-2. Yeah, nothing much to say about that, apart from we had 2 double-barreled surnames. We had Daley Campbell and John Jules from the Ministry of Sound Party. That's good. Always good to see him getting a run out. Actually, I'm going to go and reopen that last one and see who from played in the under-23s. It was a first-team player. No one. No, absolutely no one. That's really good. Yeah, we had 3 double barrels for the under-23s. Gimli Redosi 2-2, Rennie Adelaide and Smith Rowe, but there's no hyphen. I think we've been through that before. That's just confusing. So the under-18s are still second in the league on 26 points, behind Chelsea in first place on 32 points. So I think they've got that league wrapped up. The ladies still haven't played since their last game was a 3-2 defeat away at Chelsea on the 7th of January.
No, hang on. They got to the Conti Cup final again, didn't they?
I'm just looking now. Just clicked on total fixtures. Yeah, they beat Reading 3-2 on the 14th of January.
Come from behind twice, I think.
Yeah, we scored, then they scored 2, and then we scored. Is it Jordan Nobbs?
Yeah,
yes,
the
haven't we got? They got
time
a new
added
manager
on or something.
Yeah, it was the 83rd minute. Looks like a good game. Yes, it's good. Haven't we getting a new manager there soon? Or is that a new man? I think our manager used to be Dutch, didn't it? Now we've got someone who I think the number of Australian.
No, he was Spanish. He was Spanish. Pedro Losa, he's gone. Yeah. And yes, he has been replaced. I can't remember.
Joseph Montemuro.
Ah, that's it.
Yes, 48-year-old Australian. Well, that's good. Well, good luck to them. That's what I say. Injury-wise, we're down to 5. Monreal, any day. Ozil, unknown, because there's nothing wrong with him. Koscielny, any day. Giroud, 2 weeks. And Santi Cazorla, that's back up to 5 weeks. Bless him. Poor little Santi. Who should we? Simon, who would you like to have a lone roundup watch of?
Give me one of Takuma Asano.
Oh, wise choice, sir. Right, he is currently at VfB Stuttgart. He was with them last season as they won Bundesliga 2. He is playing almost every single game. He wasn't in the squad for the last game that they won. He's been playing right wing, support striker and centre forward most of the games. And this season for them, 15 Bundesliga games, 1 goal, 1 yellow card, played 718 minutes in total, played 3 cup games, 1 assist, 163 minutes. So he did have a run earlier on where he was playing the full game. So it doesn't say here whether he's come on or off. So I'll have to look at detailed for that. Meanwhile, wait the page to load up. Oh, here you go. He's came on in the last 3 games. The last one he didn't play, but the ones before that come on in the 82nd, the 26th, and the 85th minutes. And the 2 games before that, he came off after 57 and off after 73. But they are on a horrendous run, apart from beating Hertha Berlin. They before that they lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich, 1-0 to Hoffenheim, 2-0 to Bayer Leverkusen, 1-0 to Werder Bremen. So the manager's probably shuffling things around. I don't actually know how they're getting on in the Bundesliga. I'm going to just talk about the weather until I go and find the Bundesliga page. There we go. Bundesliga, Stuttgart are 13th on 20 points. Cologne are ruined. They're going down. They're on 9. So there's one more team getting relegated and one more team into the playoffs. So they've had a pretty bad run of form until the last game. So he's doing all right. It's good. He's getting some good experience. Hopefully he'll come back next season because he's a very versatile, playing any of one of the front 3 positions we currently use. Is there anything else I haven't covered, Gimli?
No, I think that's all of it.
Oh, lovely. Well, get on with it then.
Okie dokie. We'll continue the show then by talking about our 2-1 loss to Bournemouth. For his thoughts, we'll go to Simon.
Yeah, I think we all agreed before we started the lesson about this, the better. But frustrating game, sort of summed up a lot of recent games. I thought in that first half, we looked pretty comfortable. I thought. I mean, we weren't in terms of attacking threat. We didn't look, like we're going to set the world like and score 3 or 4 goals. We didn't really look under pressure. The game was sort of cruising along. And when Bellerin got the goal just after the break, I thought that was it and we'd kick on. But, within 4 minutes, Bournemouth get 2 goals. And I think the first one, we've spoken before on here about Cech and his age and whether he's past it. And it just sort of summed up there. He was a bit slow getting off his line and Wilson got in front of him. And then I've got the other one for his first goal for Bournemouth in, 2 years since he's been there, 3 years since he's been there. So... a really disappointing performance, I think, was the way to sum it up. Just lacking that going forward. Without Ozil, we seem to really lack that creativity. Lacazette looks tired almost and lacking in confidence. And I think in the end we had 3 shots on target against 90 minutes against a team like Bournemouth, who we knew, Bournemouth are not a sort of West Brom when we went away there or something like that. They're going to let you play. And there was sloppy passes coming out from the back. It didn't really build well. So it was a game we played in first gear. And in the end, we got punished for it. So there's a lot of work to do off it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we can really take this result as this is the Arsenal team. I mean, it was the youngest lineup fielded since 2012. And it really did show, didn't it, David?
Well, you're asking the wrong man, Gim, because fortunately, as I was away in Cornwall, I came back on Sunday lunchtime and I was perusing the pleasures of the M5 and the M4 while the game was going on. And when I got back and I saw what was being said about it on social media, I decided that as this is the first game I haven't seen live since probably streaming started, I wasn't going to watch it after the event and subject myself to all that misery that everybody else seemed to be going through.
In fact, I mean, it's a game that was very forgettable in total. And I mean, we've got a lot to talk about tonight in terms of transfers because it's been a really, really busy week since we last spoke to you all. So are we all in agreement that we should go to transfers and talk a little bit about that?
Go for it.
I think that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear us dwelling on that shambles of the game. But my own opinion on it was I think the first half looked good, and I thought, like Simon said, we scored the first goal. I thought, here we go, they're going to crumble, and then it's gonna be a decent run for us, another away win. But then it all fell apart, and I think once they, I got the feeling that they were, like sometimes we go and play smaller teams, and we just sit back in for a little while. We sit back and we absorb it all, and then we go, that's it, right? You've had your go, then we go and attack them and ruin them. That's what they did to us. What do you think, Geoff?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Simon summed it up very, very well. I found it a really, really bizarre game, because like he said, that we was really, really comfortable in the first half. Then we got the goal, and you know what? When they scored, when Bournemouth scored, we just seemed to bottle it. We just seemed to completely fucking bottle it. They was pressing high up the pitch, putting a little bit more pressure on us, and all that. It's a tiny little ground there. They make quite a lot of noise once they're up for it. And it was a really, really poor performance in the end. But, what you got to remember is, it was a complete outrage again, on the defeat, as it is with every single defeat that are, even if we drop 2 points and we nick a draw somewhere, it's outrage, which I understand. But I just think that you've gone there with no real proper first team defender, so to speak, 100% fit. You didn't have no Ozil, you didn't have no Sanchez, and they're like, 5 big players that, you would need when you go away from home, because, the Premier League's a very difficult place to play no matter where you are. And but at the end of the day, we should never have got beat, the way we got beat. And like Wenger said, I just really don't know how we got beat in that game. It was incredible.
But Geoff, would you say that probably one of the only shining lights of the day was Jack Wilshere? I mean, he seems to be performing in every game. I know we lost, but he was one of the brightest players on the park.
Brilliant. Honestly, I've been really, really impressed with Jack, and I must admit, I was one of the first ones to write him off. I thought his career at Arsenal was over. But listen, if we can keep him fit, that lad, honestly, he can lead us through. And he gives, on the pitch, although it didn't affect at the weekend, which was surprising. But he is one of those guys, if you are under the cosh, he'll go into one of them crunching tackles one time, and then he'll just rev everybody up, and you can get them going, like Vieira used to do, and a few of the others back in the old days. We haven't had that for a while, so but his quality on the pitch is brilliant,
Definitely. Okay, though. So with that said, then we will move into some transfer news, and we'll start with an out, which way you want to look at it is a sad one or a happy one for you. Theo Walcott to Everton, 20 million. I mean, you can't say someone that scored over 100 goals for Arsenal has not played a major part. I myself, as much as I thought that he needed a move, I'm sad to see him go. But David, we wish him all the best, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned 20 million there. I think for a player of his age, with his goal scoring record, with his experience, all right, he hasn't played a lot this season, but with the English premium, I thought we probably got a little bit less for him than we might have done. But if you'd said to me, 4 months ago, say, that we would get 60 million for Chamberlain and Theo, then I'd say, okay, that's pretty damn good business, because Theo, I think he went in this season probably thinking he would be on the right wing, and I don't think he realised probably the amount of damage that he caused himself in Arsene Wenger's mind with that message he gave out after Crystal Palace last season, when he said that they wanted it more than us and he was captain for the night. But let's gloss over that and think about the good things that he did, because many games against Tottenham, he produced performances for us in Europe. In Cup final, he got a goal for us. The guy did come good in a lot of big games, but it wasn't enough. He wasn't consistent enough, which is a shame. That'll probably be his epitaph at Arsenal, but he goes my best wishes. I hope he finds his form again, gets games and gets into the World Cup side and gets a World Cup game this year. That'd be great.
No, I certainly agree with you, David. Do you agree, Simon, that Everton is the perfect move for him? I mean, he's going to get game time. Everton aren't a bad squad. They've got a decent manager. We wish him all the best, and I personally think he's going to do well up there.
Yeah, I think it was a good move for all parties, I think. Arsenal got the money that they wanted. They got some space in the wage bill, which they're going to need to get new players in. Everton desperately need pace in their attack. Anyone who's seen them play will know that. They've got so many number 10s, but they haven't got anyone who'll actually stretch the game and run in behind to give those number 10s pace. Allardyce is a fan of Walcott. He likes to get the ball out wide. And Everton will probably think for 20 million, 25 million, they've got a good player. In terms of Walcott and his Arsenal career, I think we'll all admit it didn't live up to the hype that we hoped when he came in and the expectation he had. But there were great games. That FA Cup finals. So I'll always remember that Newcastle game where I think he got 4 in the end, scoring in the League Cup final. And I think it was one that Wenger will be probably disappointed within himself that he didn't get more out of Walcott. And I was chatting to Jace about it off the pod, and he was a bit bemused as to why these stories were coming out saying Wenger would have happily kept Walcott. But I think he would have done, because anyone who's met Theo, or you can tell on social media by the message he said when he left, he's absolutely good as gold. Everyone in the squad likes him. Everyone around the club likes him. He works hard. He trains hard. He's a great example. And say what you want, he was a good squad player for us. But 25 million, I don't think you can really turn that down if you're Arsenal, especially if you want to reinforce. I think he was one who had to go. And I think it's worked out well for everyone, this move, and at the time it's come.
Mm. And Geoff, it shows what a gentleman he is, that obviously he'd expect to be a first team player, but all that time he wasn't being used. He was in the second team for the Europa games, and he didn't pipe up once, did he? He was the ultimate professional through all of that. And I think anyone giving him a hard time on his move up to Everton needs their head read, because for me, a player with a cup final goal, over 100 goals in an Arsenal shirt, and of course the old 2-0 at Tottenham on the stretcher, he needs to be celebrated, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, he's been a good, loyal servant for the football club. But, it's a shame that he didn't really reach the achievements that we thought he was going to reach. I remember a tweet maybe 2 or 3 years ago saying that, I don't think Theo's going to make it at Arsenal. Of course, he made it at Arsenal. He scored all them goals. But what I meant was, at the time, I don't really think he's going to reach that peak. Where he's going to be like a world-class footballer, and unfortunately I don't think he made that. I really do hope he can go on at Everton. I fancy he's going to play him as a number 9, like Simon was saying, they do need a bit of pace up top, and if he goes in as a 9 pardon me, and they give him 9 or 10 games as a number 9, I think he'll get the gist of it, because he does make them great runs in behind. Of course, he's going to get offside every now and again. He seemed to always be offside in our last 4 or 5 games for us that he played. But, he's got plenty of pace. And when he doesn't have to concentrate too much on his finishing, he normally puts them away. But good luck to the kid. He's been a good servant for the club.
Yeah, Geoff, they've also bought Turkey's number 9, so I think he is going to be playing wide. The Turkish lad will be up front.
Okay, no problem.
And Danny, if you'd like to finish us off with your thoughts on Theo Walcott and perhaps maybe a favourite moment of his in an Arsenal shirt.
Oh, I love Theo, and him and the Ox. They're the ones I wanted to. Him and the Ox and Jack Wilshere, but they're the ones I wanted to do so well. Remember that big signing of Wenger, behind them and all him and Wilshere and Jenkinson and Gibbs.
The British core.
Oh,
that's what it was.
British core. Well, we all hoped that would work out, and it made us all happy. I think it can still work out for Wilshere, and it will probably work out for Ramsey. But it's just sad that it hasn't happened. But I think Theo has been at times his own worst enemy. I mean, that hat-trick he scored for England against Croatia put so much pressure on the boy. And then, I mean, when he was at Southampton, he scored 5 goals in 23 games. And you think, well, that's not really the form of a striker, even though I think he was only about 12 at the time. But then he had a couple of seasons, like we all know, where he scored like 19 goals in one season and 21 in another. And I'm sure that season when he got 21, he got a hat load of assists as well. I'm just looking here, 43 games, 21 goals, 14 assists. Now, I'm not sure if this, because I use the French version of Wikipedia for this because they include all the assists. So I'm not sure if that includes England games or not, because I am not sure what, I can't read that, it's nonsense. So it's an utter shame because he's so passionate about about the club and the fans. He's like someone that you'd love to go to a game with, but I think you may have to explain to him how offside works and explain to him how some of the tactics works, because he's never really come across as someone who really knows their football. Because some of the stuff he would do, running down blind alleys and running down, you'd often think that on the advertising boards on the whichever wing he is playing on, you're gonna have to put some cushioning on. They know, like when they do the indoor sprinting, the 60 metres thing, they have to have one end with a load of cushioning in, because they're going to keep on running until they run into it. Occasionally I thought he'd get there to that moment and then he'd just completely blank and think, what do I do? Which is why we often said, if he doesn't think about it, he does great things. But when he has too much time on the ball to think about it, he overthinks it, because he's obviously a very intelligent bloke, and he fluffs it up. There's been the odd occasion where he has thought about it and he's done well. But I'm just so disappointed. I mean, last season, 37 games, 19 goals, 2 assists. Now, a lot of these came in the League Cup or the FA Cup, and 10 in the Premier League. But we all want him to do well. And when my mate Dean, who's often in the chat box, and he was saying, he's an Everton fan, he said, I really hope he comes, because he's a wonderful player, and he is. And I think sometimes there's just so much pressure on him to do well. If he goes to this is the point John Welsh made a while ago, he'll go to a top half Premier League table club with no pressure. He'll go there and he'll thrive. And like David said, I hope he does make it back into the England squad, just for him, for his own personal well-being. But he's a lovely bloke, and I think he'll always be a fan's favourite. And I'm just really sad that he's gone. That's a favourite moment. Everyone's going to say the 2-0 against Spurs where he was stretchered off, or the FA Cup final goal. It's going to have to be one of those two things. But it's
or
just
the goal against
bloke.
Newcastle.
You know what I'm like at remembering goals. I've seen so many games. I can't remember the goals we scored against or the goal against Bournemouth. I'm terrible at remembering that. Transfers, I remember them all, but goals, I don't remember any of them. But it's sad that he's gone. But also, David said that if we'd have said this time last year we're going to get 60 million for the Ox and Walcott, we'd have gone, damn right, excellent. But plus, you've got to also think that he was being paid £140,000 a week allegedly to sit on the bench and then not even come on. Like against Bournemouth, you thought, well, he was ideally set to come on and play in rather than Iwobi after Iwobi's antics, but he brought him on as a sub instead. So it's going to be sad that his last ever game for us, he came on as a sub and didn't really do much.
You can't say he wasn't given a chance, you know.
Oh God, he was given 400 chances. How many chances? 397 chances. No, again, the French site's got it wrong. He's had loads. It's sad though. I hope he does well.
Yeah, it does. And another story this week that is hot on our lips is Alexis Sanchez's dramatic change, and it now looks likely that he's going to go to Man United. David, the reports coming out of this one are £500,000 a week until he's 34. That's lunacy, isn't it?
I think it went up to 600,000 today, didn't it? It's going up 100,000 every day. It's in our terms, it's lunacy. I was listening to Arsene Wenger at the press conference today when he said, well, actually, no, I can't blame them for doing that. They earn it. They spend it as they see fit. Obviously, that's not a league that we're playing in. But interestingly, he also said it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't compete with them on the pitch, just because we can't compete with them on salaries. But with regards to Alexis, again, I think this is a move that, because of the atmosphere that's been generated over at least the last month, and I think it's been festering for the last year, actually, it's probably best for all concerned. The only thing is, of course, that they have to deal with Mkhitaryan and his agent, and I think that's possibly where the move might be stalling at the moment, because the guy has obviously got some demands from Mkhitaryan that we're haggling over, and if we don't get Mkhitaryan, then why would you let Alexis go for nothing? There's going to have to be some financial compensation. So all of those discussions are still ongoing. But listening to Wenger today, he still thinks it's he didn't pick him at Bournemouth because he thought something was imminent and he didn't want to take him down there and then send him home. And he thinks something might still be done in the next 48 hours. I think that's only positive for the mood in the dressing room, which seems to have turned against the one man.
And Geoff, we've seen from Twitter all of a sudden this time last week, as Arsenal fans who are going, you can understand why you go to Man City, because guaranteed success. He's going to be part of a team that's winning trophies, building on what they've got and moving forward. Yeah. Now, as if you look at Twitter, today you see a lot of people saying that he's the biggest mercenary in Arsenal history. A lot of ex-players have come out, one in particular, I think Keown called him that. It seems a rather bizarre switch. Surely it's money orientated, isn't it?
Well, this is what I've been trying to say for a while now. People have been on Twitter saying, well, they should have had this wrapped up 2-3 years ago. Why are they trying to negotiate now? Blah. They've been trying to negotiate for over 2 years to get him a new deal. And I got a feeling that he had this in the bank from when he first signed for Arsenal. I thought he was going to see his contract out because he's obviously 29 now. It's most probably his last big contract, unless he wants to go to China or one of those places. And to be honest with you, I know he's going to get called a mercenary, but it's a short lifespan for a footballer, and I can't really blame him, mate. And if he can extract as much money as possible from another football club, and it's not as if he's going to China. He's going, he looks like he's going to Manchester United. They are possibly the biggest football team in the world, commercially, etc., and stuff like that. They're the most famous, maybe. So it's difficult, isn't it? It's a good move for him, but it's no surprise to me because we've obviously been trying to get him to tie down on a contract, and he hasn't signed it. I have got some news on that, in fact, because I deal with a predominant football agent in Manchester in my industry, and I spoke to him on Monday and served him a box for Lady Gaga in February, funny enough. When I was on the phone, I said to him, listen, you got any news on this? What's the coup with this Sanchez? Is it going to happen or what? He said, well, yeah, maybe happening, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, keep me in the loop. Anyway, yesterday evening, in fact, I got a text message from him. I'll read it out. It says, Geoff, deal done. Alexis Sanchez is a Manchester United player on a 3.5-year deal with an option for an extra year. Mkhitaryan heading the other way on a 4-year deal. Fee undisclosed, but believed to be 20 to 25 million. Announcement likely on Friday after club media profiling is complete. So whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. Don't shoot the messenger. But I then text somebody at Arsenal. In fact, I copied and pasted it, and all I got was 2 thumbs up. So make of that what you will. I don't know whether it's going to happen, whether it's not, whether it's happened. We'll have to wait and see. I do know that they're interested in. They're definitely interested in Johnny Evans and Aubameyang. But
right, Geoff, that's coming. Don't give it to us all at once. Don't fucking sit there and show your hand too early. You've got many cards, and we will get to them. I'm
terrified to print it out on Twitter because the fucking hate you get for it,
Oh, fuck Twitter! You're part of this podcast. You can release it on here. Well, I suppose you already have, but we could do it a bit later, I suppose. But
Simon, be interesting, though, won't it? Be interesting if we can get through, though. If we can get 2 or 3 in, it'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it will be fantastic. Simon, Alexis played in total, as it stands to this moment, 122 games in an Arsenal shirt. That's the most he's played for any club he's been with. The next down from that is Udinese with 95 games. Do you think that stat show that he's a one-contract wonder and maybe he's milked United to get him to the end of his career on a massive bumper deal?
I think a lot with Alexis is as we've seen, he never really hangs around in the same sort of place once. And I think we've noticed with him as well that he doesn't really know what he wants, because he obviously was at Udinese and he wanted a big move, and he got that when he went to Barcelona. Then he was at Barcelona and he was moaning, look, I'm not the main man. I want to go and be the main man. So he went to Arsenal. Then he was at Arsenal and said he wants to play for Pep Guardiola, who was already playing for at Barcelona, because he wants to go and win trophies. And then he decides to join Manchester United because they give him the most money. So I think what we've seen is an insight into Alexis, that he is a bit wild. He doesn't really hang around in the same sort of place once, and he's weighed up his options, probably with the help of his agent, who's getting £10 million out of this as well, and he's decided this is the best deal. So in terms of what he's done for Arsenal, a fantastic player. I mean, this season has been pretty poor, and I think we've probably realised Arsenal should have sold him in the summer, but for those years before that, those first 3 seasons, I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. And we saw what he brought to Arsenal was a bit what we had with Van Persie in his last years, that he just bailed us out of holes. He got goals off his own back. You give him the ball. And I think that's United's main game from this, is they're going to have a player now who we can moan about him giving the ball away, which we do, and sloppy passes, but he can conjure something out of nothing. And I think for United, it is a big game for them to go there. And for us, it's frustrating because he's going to someone who is a closer rival to us. Because if he went to City, I personally would have been a bit like, well, City is so far ahead, it doesn't matter. But United, I don't think are miles ahead of us. So that for me is a bit of a blow. But as Geoff says, when it's this amount of money, you can't really blame him.
Are you muted, Gimli?
Yes, I am.
Every week.
All right, fucking.
Do you leave them in, Dan?
Fucking wound me up, right? You could have one that's a bit left field, Danny. With all the relationships, and when you break up with them, you try to find something that was bad about the relationship, e.g., if she gave a shit blowy. Would you say, Danny, one way that we can look at Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal in a refreshing light is that we won't give the ball away so much? Fucking expand on that, you cunt.
Oh, worked him again. Yeah, I think that's gonna be what it is, because like Simon was saying, last season he was absolutely magnificent. Just looking at his stats here, 51 games and 30 goals. Oh, I'm gonna have to go to the French site. No, the French. I can't do it. Can't tell you the number of assists, but I think it was almost a game or a goal or an assist per game. In the Premier League, it was 24 goals in 38 games. Without him last season, we would have done even worse than we would have done. We'd have been mid-table mediocrity. But then the season before that, 13 in 30 in the league, and the season before that, 16 in 35. Now I know when he was at Barcelona, he didn't play as many games. In 3 seasons, he played 141 games. in 4 seasons for us, he's played 165, and that's it. But this season in the Premier League, 7 in 19. Now that's not a bad return from a bloke who is out of form, hasn't played all the games that have been there. He's missed out quite a few. But then sometimes he'll do weird things like, I want to play in the League Cup, or I want to play in the FA Cup early rounds, and things like that. You think, well, no, we don't want you to do that. There's no need for you to play in games like that. But the sheer number of times he gives the ball away, the number of times that he refuses to pass to players, like a couple of times or many times he's not given the ball to Ramsey or Giroud. Incredibly selfish, but it was at times he was on the level that Henry was, as in his ability and his vision for the game. But Henry was more than happy to set someone else up, and more than happy to play a part man in a build up to a game. And you'd never see Henry as the furthest back outfield player picking the ball up and running the length of the field a bit, losing the ball, going back again and getting it. That frustrates the team. I mean, sometimes his teammates must just stand there and go, here he goes again. Look at him running back, getting the goal with the ball off the keeper, running the length of the field, losing it, going in for late tackles and doing. He's just so unprofessional and selfish. But at first we thought, oh my God, we've got an amazing terrier. He's up for everything. And after a while you think, oh, for fuck's sake, man, will you just stay in your own half of the pitch? When you get a ball, if there's someone else who's got a better chance of it, give them the ball. And I mean, I can understand him not wanting to give the ball to Xhaka or Coquelin, those two, because they're just going to have a shot from nowhere and waste it. But sometimes like we say, that Lacazette is struggling at the moment because people just aren't giving him the ball. They aren't setting stuff up for him, and now he's not going to do it anymore. And it will look back as, like I always say, we'll look back at the Sanchez and Ozil days and go, how didn't we do more? I know in his 4 seasons with us, he's won 2 FA Cups and League Championship runners-up. But for players of that quality with those kind of stats, we should have won a lot more than we actually did. And I think sometimes he just tried so hard, he ended up being a negative effect on the team than a positive. Yeah, has that cheered you up a bit?
No. I just thought I'd put you in an uncomfortable position, and I succeeded. David, it looked dead set that we might as well lose Alexis Sanchez for nothing in the summer. So the fact that Mkhitaryan is coming the other way is maybe a silver lining to the cloud, isn't it? I mean, what are your thoughts on Mkhitaryan and what he can do for Arsenal Football Club?
Well, it's pure and simple. If he turns up the Mkhitaryan who played for Dortmund, then absolutely we've got ourselves a player and we've got some value out of the deal, which is going to silence some of the complaints about the mishandling of the Alexis situation. And that becomes even more important when we talk about his relationship with another, I'm sure we're going to come on to any minute now, but he has played with Aubameyang before and they know each other's game. We may end up having ourselves quite an interesting second half of the season.
Exactly. Sid, as you brought it up, David, we will stick with that and the rumours coming out tonight on the strong speculation for the last couple of days is that we are about to sign Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It's supposed to be a 3.5-year deal, 10 million euros a year. All I can say, Simon, is wow, I didn't really see that coming at all. Did you?
No, I think it's one that's all sort of shocked us, not least because we spent £50 million on Lacazette in the summer. But I think it would strongly suggest that Olivier Giroud would be leaving, whether that's as part of the Aubameyang deal or not, remains to be seen. But I think it's a fantastic signing. I mean, I've watched Dortmund a bit. Aubameyang's movement is fantastic. I know people have moaned about his attitude and things like that, and the fact he's missed more games due to disciplinary reasons and injuries is something. But when he's on song, I mean, he's absolutely electric, and I think he's made for the Premier League. I know he wanted to move in the summer, and this all stems back to, I think it was around when Mkhitaryan left, actually, because that summer Mkhitaryan left. Hummels went to Bayern Munich, Gundogan went to Manchester City, and Aubameyang was the only one who had to stay put. And he fell out with Dortmund. Then it sort of rumbled on all that time. He thought he was going to go this summer when AC Milan came in. Their bid of 60 million was rejected. He had to stay. And now I think Dortmund have finally said, OK, you can go this time, but it needs to be the 60 million we could have got in the summer from Milan. And where we play him, I'm sure we'll go on to discuss that, will be the question. But I think in terms of what he brings, you know, he's 28, 29. He's someone who's a player for now. You know, he's not someone we're going to have to wait around and see him deliver the goods and mature. He's ready-made. He's done it at the Champions League, done it at a high level. I think it's a great sign if they get it over the line and probably in the market, considering we're 6th in the league. We're not in the Champions League, might not be it next year. I think he's probably the best striker you can get.
And Geoff, I tweeted earlier that the fact that we're now in January looking at players like Aubameyang maybe shows that Sven is having his effect already. Is that something that you can get behind or agree with?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Germans in the frame at the moment, isn't there? So maybe we're heading that way. We're looking for that German model. I don't know. Rumours that Joachim Löw might be heading the way after Wenger. I don't know. I wouldn't really be against anything like that. But if that was the case, I don't know how. I'm not sure he's done that well at club level, you know. But very interesting, isn't it? All these Germans on board.
Just on the off chance, Geoff, do you have any, as it stands, information about it? I mean, what was the first you heard that it could happen? Because it's been out for a couple of days now. We've seen Aubameyang retweet a picture with an Arsenal fan. He said something about showing the fire in London with a video with Jordan Sancho, who of course is a Dortmund player. I think his father was in London today. I'm just picking the things that I've seen off Twitter. And I believe that he's not travelling with the squad for Hertha for the game on Saturday. Where does it stand?
Do you know what? I've only really read what you've read, Kim. I think it would be a fantastic signing. I think he's a terrific footballer. Like, with plenty of pace, exactly what we need. But I can't, Arsenal. I can't imagine that they're going to be able to. I mean, I can't understand how Chelsea or somebody else are not in for him. And as soon as you get one of the big boys in for him, then it scatters everything, doesn't it? Then you're into outbidding stages, and Arsenal. I don't think they couldn't. If Chelsea wanted to purchase someone like that, I don't know. I'm sure there's a couple of clubs. Real Madrid, I think he was hedging for a move to Real Madrid last summer. The kid's obviously got problems at Dortmund, and he might have kicked off just at the right time for Arsenal. Let's hope he does, touch wood.
I think it was there was something racially motivated behind the move as well, because his father came out on Twitter or Instagram and said something like it's a place where he'd finally be wanted, because I think there was a small section of the fan giving him abuse. But David, we'll go to you. Obviously, he's had his problems, as we've talked about. Do you think Sven is the difference in attracting maybe an Aubameyang, because he was the one that brought him to Dortmund. So do you think the connection there is kind of what's making the difference for us coming in above bigger teams?
You have to assume that that's the case, and you have to assume that he's the mover behind the deal, but I don't know that for sure any more than anybody else does. But it certainly, his contacts at Dortmund will not have hindered us, let's put it that way. And I think it's quite strange when you look at it now. Even last summer, I can remember talking about, we always wanted to buy these strikers for probably 2, 3, 4 years since the arrival, really, of Alexis, and that nobody was really moving who was a top-notch striker. And now, in the course of just over 6 months, we seem to have landed ourselves 2 of the best. Although Lacazette is taking time to settle in, I have no doubt it'll be an outrageous success. And I hope we find a way of playing the 2 of them together. But the thought of us being able to pick up 2 strikers of that quality ahead of other clubs, I find amazing and really hopeful for the future.
No, exactly. Which leads me to my next question to you, Danny. There are suggestions from certain people, I won't say in the know on Twitter, and not Chris, but there's suggestions that because Aubameyang is coming in, it maybe means that Arsene Wenger hasn't got confidence in Lacazette. Surely that's wrong, isn't it?
I was listening to the Totally Football show today with the wonderful AC Jimbo, and one of the people on there said a top club needs 2 players in every position. Now, unfortunately, Giroud this season, he's had a bit of a knock. He's only had a part games, but would you believe Giroud has? Hold on, going to click on this for number of games played. Even though Giroud's injured, he still played the second most number of games for us this season. The most is Bellerin with 26, 25 for Giroud and Petr Cech. And in those 25 games, he's got 7 goals. Now, although that doesn't sound like 7 into 25, it's like 3.5 times. And it doesn't sound that really good, but that's because he's come on as a substitute, and he's 31 years old. It's a World Cup year, and I don't think he is going to be happy with only coming on every now and then. And the games that he has started, he hasn't been that good, has he? He's been the saviour of the club for game after game for seasons gone by, apart from his 17-game run where he didn't score a single goal. I don't think Wenger or those upstairs who are now making the decisions think that Giroud is going to get any better anytime soon. Personally, I think he's great because we play one type of football with Lacazette, and then we've got a plan B to bring Giroud on and pump the balls in, few elbows up in the air, and we get a goal that way. And if we're going to play a Boomerang, then he's going to be playing, it's going to be kind of the Henry kind of attacking football. It's just going to ruin them for pace because that isn't Lacazette's game, as Chris keeps telling us. So I think I'd like to keep all 3 of them, Lacazette, Boomerang and Giroud. I'd like to keep all 3 at the club, but you can't. But we do need 2 top-class strikers. And at the moment, Boomerang has got 21 goals in 23 games, all competitions for Borussia Dortmund, my German team at the moment. And you've got to look at it that it is an upgrade. And it is, again, a slightly different style of player to what we already have. So I think it could be the end for Giroud. And hasn't someone said that he could be linked with him going to Borussia Dortmund, which I know Chris has tweeted a few times about that this week. We give Chris a lot of grief, but you go and have a look at some of Chris's tweets. That's at AFC Freddy 8, number 8.
He's normally wrong though, isn't he?
It doesn't matter if he's wrong or not. They're entertaining. He plays the Twitter game.
Danny,
yes.
Well, hold on.
I'm
back
woeing.
up a second. If you want to be a Twitter ITK, then you have to base your information on whether you are normally right or wrong. And if someone's information is mostly wrong, you would say they're not really a very good ITK.
But he doesn't claim to be an ITK, does he?
No, but
he plays the game like Geoff plays the game.
I didn't claim to be a cunt. I am one.
No, you're not. You just play the Twitter game as if you are, but you're not. You're a very nice bloke. But that's not the image we like to portray, is it? No, it's not.
I'm a ginger Welsh midget.
That's
it.
An
arsehole.
With hairy feet.
Yeah. No pubes.
So I think it's going to be good, but I do feel for Giroud, but he isn't the player that we need in the type of football that we're going to be playing, because Wenger doesn't like to do the long ball, does he? The number of times that Giroud has come on, and you think, well, when you've got someone who's 6'4" or whatever he is and good in the air, that as soon as we take off Lacazette and we bring on Giroud, then it's going to be balls in from wide, up in the air, and try and do a little bit of stuff in the air, but he doesn't. But he does play with his back to goal, which means he'll take on a couple of defenders, and like we saw in a game recently, that we brought Giroud on. Giroud was over on the right-hand side of the penalty area, took 2 defenders with him, and left the ball open for someone to come in and score. So everyone does have their different things they can do, but I think this could be the final nail in the Giroud coffin at Arsenal, and another one who's been a magnificent servant.
And Simon, we'll go to you next. You said you expected 3 to come in to try and second guess what your third player would be. Is it Malcolm?
I don't think they'll get that one done, actually. Not now, I don't think. I just think it's... Chris will probably say differently, but I just think it's a bit too difficult to get it done in the middle of the window. I think more likely to get Evans done than Malcolm, I think, just because dealing with Bordeaux and Malcolm's agent, I think, is tougher. And it's one that doesn't need to get done now, I think, as much as Malcolm. I think it could wait until the summer, whereas I think we'd all agree if we could get Evans in now, again, like a Aubameyang and like Mkhitaryan, all 3 of those players are ready-made to go in the team now and to start now, whereas Malcolm, to me, feels a bit more like a sort of a luxury one. And hearing what David Ornstein was saying on 5 Live the other day, that the scouting team at Arsenal was saying he's probably not quite ready for the Arsenal first team anyway, so it'd be time betting him. It's whether one with Malcolm, the luxury you could be is like Manchester City did with Gabriel Jesus, where you get him in January, you give them 6 months to sort of bed in, and then next season they can go straight into it. But I don't think they'd get their Malcolm done. Obviously, things can change very quickly, but that wouldn't be my guess. Evans, I think, would be the other one. Whether Manchester City go for him instead as well would be the difficulty, because obviously he would like to play for Arsenal as well, but it's Manchester City, and also he's based up in Manchester, so that'll be difficult. But if we get Evans in, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. It's just I don't know how on earth you fit Ozil, Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Wilshere, Ramsey all in the same team, but
sure the worry. Sure, the worry. Let's worry about that problem at the time.
Yeah,
I think
it's happy. It's nice for us to have that for a change, isn't it? Than thinking, oh Christ, who else is going to play?
So. Arsenal though, mate. We most probably end up with Solomon Kalou or something like that on the last minute again.
You know what, Geoff? We're talking about this and we're getting all excited about these signings, but it's the 18th of January and we haven't yet got one. We've let 2 players go.
We've got the Greek boy.
We haven't got one over the line, and this is going to be the real test of this new setup.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
It is. I want to continue to talk about, obviously, the news coming out tonight, and if you're listening to this, then you're probably more than aware of it, is that Alan Smith has come out today and said that Arsenal seem very confident that Mesut Ozil will sign a new deal. David, I want to come to you with this one. Just how important is it to sign Mesut Ozil? I mean, he's been fantastic, a driving force behind most of the good things at Arsenal the last 3 months. It's important to have him signed and sealed, isn't it?
I think it is, yes, and but because he's so critical to the way that we're currently playing, and I'll leave aside the discussion of what we might be doing next season, because I'm sure you'll come on to that. But to sign Mesut Ozil, to have a player of that quality available to you for another 3 or 4 years, however long it is, gives whoever the manager will be a quality act to work with. He'll have someone to build the side around, as we've been trying to do for the last 3 or 4 years. And it's kind of strange that 3 years ago we thought we'd got rid of all the deadwood, but over the course of the last 3 years we've accrued another lot that we want to get rid of. If we can finally get the players around him who utilise the best of his talents, I think it would be best for him as well as us, because there doesn't appear to be a great clamour for his signature other than vague hints that Manchester United might be interested. Now, and that is kind of the one thing I would caution people about. It's all very well. Mesut has played the public relations game brilliantly. He hasn't signed on the dotted line yet. And if Alexis goes there, you've seen the understanding they have and how they want to play together almost on their own every week. He might yet still be tempted to go. But let's worry about it when we get to it.
Exactly. And the news tonight, also is from Ornstein yesterday night, actually, I should say, Geoff, is that Jack is also very, very close to signing. So we'll have a team that in the window has lost Alexis, has lost Theo Walcott, but potentially will bring in Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, have Ozil and Jack signed. It all looks positive for the future, doesn't it? I mean, Alexis is a big loss, but we're making positive strides for a change.
Contrary to what people think, we have got a very, very good football team. We've just got to try and get the balance right, haven't we? At the start of at the end of on the summer transfer window, I'd heard that he'd had enough and he wanted to get rid of the players that are not really Arsenal. They're not really on the same page, and they're not really Arsenal footballers. They want to get rid of them because they don't want to be really playing at Arsenal. That seems to be what's going on now with Sanchez going, and if he could maybe have another little bit of a rebuilding process, bring 2 or 3 in, hopefully it'll be a positive for us. But I think the fundamentals are we have got a decent side, we've got a good side, and we just need we just get a bit more confidence, and then we'll be okay, I'm sure.
Exactly. And I think what I'm going to do to just finish off this transfer section is I'm going to say if we sign Evans, Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan, and of course the people that have gone are going/gone, what mark out of 10 would you give Arsenal's transfer window? Danny, I'm going to start with you on that.
Well, for ages we've been moaning that we want certain players gone, and we've had a good old clear out, because you forget that we've also got rid of Gabriel, and we got rid of the Cock, 2 players that we have done no end of moaning about on this show, and we've also Szczesny, another first team player, Kieran Gibbs. That's another one. The Ox, who we've spent plenty of time moaning, and Walcott we moan about. So that's 6 players that were guaranteed, that are regular first team players when they were there, that we've all moaned about, and they've all gone. And plus we're bringing in, if you look at the stats of Mkhitaryan when he was at Dortmund, absolutely outstanding stats. And he's been what country is he from? Armenian player.
He's Armenian.
Yeah. He was Armenian player of the year since he was born, because he's the only player they've got. And if we do get in a Boomerang as well, that'd be brilliant. So I'm gonna have to give it. But there again, we haven't got the defensive midfielder we want, and we haven't got backup at centre back. But we might have a little bit something later from Geoff about Mr. Evans, but I won't say it in case you shout at me. So if we get a centre back in, then I'm going to have to give it about an 8.5. But the first 2 we needed was a centre back and a proper defensive, someone in the mould of Patrick Vieira to shore up the midfield and protect the back 3, 4, 5, 6, however many we're playing at the time. 8.5.
Marvellous. We didn't really go much into Johnny Evans. Geoff, do you just want to give us a little bit on Johnny Evans, sorry?
You're muted, Geoff.
Oh, he's done a Gimli, hasn't he?
I beg your pardon. I do beg your pardon. So terribly unprofessional from me.
You old boys in technology, eh?
Oh no, it's not good. I got a Mac though, mate. So that I must be trying to keep up with the kids, But I've heard nothing extra on Johnny Evans. There's definitely of interest there. I think he's 30 years old now, and I think they're looking for 25 or 30 million pound for him. Is that going to be a bit of a stumbling block? Personally, if he come to Arsenal, ironically, I think he'd be automatically the best defender at the club. So I don't really care much. He's just try and get him in to stabilise us. So that's what I would say. I don't know what do you reckon, Dave?
I think it's an area that needs addressing, because clearly we've got issues with Koscielny. Is it his Achilles or his ankle? You've got Mertesacker, who's not going to be around next season. So you're losing a lot of experience and a bit of leadership there. You've got the 2 lads, Chambers and Holding, who haven't quite kicked on the way we expected, at least one of them maybe to do this season. And then, of course, you've got Mustafi, who's been a little bit up and down. And so defensively, we have looked vulnerable, but rarely have we been able to pick a settled back 3, and that may be a lot to do with it. So bringing in someone like Evans, who I don't think has got that bad an injury record, Yeah, I would go. It's a shame we could probably have got him for 5 million a year ago, but that's the television contractors push those prices up, and I would pay it and get him if City aren't in for him.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dave, with that said, and the same question to Danny, if all of the below happen, what's your marks out of 10 for this transfer window?
If all of the below happen, then yeah, I think 8.5 is probably right, maybe even a 9. But where we stand right now, having let 2 players go and not get anybody, it's about a 3. There's a lot of work to be done. This is a test for them.
Yeah, I agree. Geoff, same question.
For an Arsenal transfer window in January, it's got to be a 10, mate. It's got to be 11 out of 10, I swear, if it happens,
If anyone was going to give 11 out of 10, it's you, Geoff.
Yeah, very true. I'll go with it.
Jim, just looking at Johnny Evans's, he was 30 a 2 weeks ago, and he's 3 seasons at West Brom. He's played 30, 31 and 20 Premier League games in those seasons and scored 5 goals. And in all competitions, he's played 86 games and scored 5 goals for West Brom. So, yeah, he is quite a regular, and I don't think he's spent much time injured.
No.
Good.
No,
what would you give it then, Gim, your rating?
A 10, because when I came into this transfer window, I didn't expect big things. I strongly expected Sanchez to be sold. Honestly, I thought Mesut Ozil might go. If we keep him, that alone is worth major points. Aubameyang is just another level, and to get Mkhitaryan in for Alexis, who we could have absolutely got nothing for in the summer, and to get something back on him is fantastic. So I don't think that you can look at this transfer window as it stands and say that you can't be anything but absolutely fucking doing naked cartwheels around your front garden.
Just a little bit more, naked cartwheels.
I'll pass on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, well...
looking at Johnny Evans in his injury history, he's had a calf strain that he was out for 3 games for West Brom, a calf injury. Then he had a calf strain, he missed 7 games. Then he had thigh problems and he missed 4 games in 3 seasons. That's not bad, is it?
Well, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Simon, your marks out of 10.
So is this if we get Aubameyang, Evans, Mkhitaryan and Jack and Mesut sign new deals? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
If all of that happens, it's got to be a 9 out of 10 if all that happens. I mean, the only blemish on it being that Sanchez goes, but I mean, other than that, it's a perfect window, I think. Especially getting rid of Walcott, Coquelin, Gabriel. So yeah, 9 out of 10.
Wonderful. Danny, all that's left is to go over to you for transfer rumours, and I am going to take a bathroom break.
Transfer rumours?
Oh, not transfer rumours. The best of the questions this week. I'm fucking ill. Leave me alone, you fat cunt.
Oh, lovely. Right, so I think what he meant, dear listener, sat on the toilet listening to this, wondering where your life's gone wrong. I think he means listeners' questions. I hope he bloody does, 'cause that's the point that I'm at. We had loads of brilliant questions, and right, start with one from Ginger Josh. He says this one is going to go Geoff, Hollick, Simon, Gimli. So in that order. So this one is to you, Geoff. Are you ready? Are you unmuted?
Born ready, mate. Born ready.
Oh, lovely. He says, now Alexis is almost no longer an Arsenal player. Do you move away from playing the double number 10s, which is, I've copywritten that, so I'm not surprised he's got away with that, behind a single striker, or stick with it and start another current, which I think is the important bit, Arsenal player in Alexis's place?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he's going to change it too much. If it was Mkhitaryan coming in, I think he would drop into that left hand side. I mean, I like him, Mkhitaryan. I think he's a fantastic player. When he them games that we played against Dortmund, he was maybe their star player. Quality player. I would leave it as it is and let him just try and rampage down the left hand side.
I'll give you a little quick thing on Mkhitaryan. It's during the 3 seasons he spent at my team, Borussia Dortmund, for a club and country, 160 games, 49 goals, 43 assists in 3 seasons. That's not too shonky, is it?
No, not indeed.
Lovely. Okay, next question is for you, Mr. Holick. This is from Schwinn Bada 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 Schwing. That's probably wasted on most of the listeners.
It's easy for you to say.
Hey, he says, being linked with Boomerang, Mkhitaryan and Malcolm, what are the chances of us getting all three in this window, in your opinion? And he also adds, Alexis's wage packet sounds extravagant to say the least. Thoughts on a player of his age pocketing such a packet?
Good luck to him. As Jeffrey was saying, it's a relatively short career. And if someone is... I'm not going to say stupid enough, but if someone is extravagant enough, what a good word that is, to offer you that sort of money. Hey, if the company next door to mine offers me 5 times what I'm on now, I'll go. Thank you very much. That's not going to happen, though. But the other parts of that were to do with signing the 3 players. I think we've sort of covered generally. The one that is going to be the problem, I think, is Malcolm. We know Chris was quite positive about that a week ago, but in the last few days it appears that more than one agent has a finger in the pie. We're probably going to walk away from that one until the summer. So not very confident of Malcolm. I have to say I'm becoming more positive about Aubameyang by the day. Mkhitaryan, it's just the involvement of Minola, because it shows that the reduced influence that Arsene Wenger has now, there's no way we would have had any dealings with that agent while he was in 100% control. So that's the bit that's worrying me and niggling me at the back of the mind. But good question.
So would Sven Mistletoe have been in charge of the move when Dortmund sold Mkhitaryan to Man United? I mean, would have had a hand in it like he is now? I think he would have.
I don't honestly know. I don't know that for sure, but I do know that he will have had dealings with Minola, because he doesn't have the same sort of reservations that Arsene has, and that might open up 1 or 2 other players to us as well going forward. Maybe.
Because we have missed out on loads of players with Wenger's refusal to do deals with certain agents, haven't we?
Yeah.
Jolly good. Right, Simon, this one is for you, and it's something that was in one of the papers. It's not bad, so don't worry. This was in the Express, and Nicky Wilson says, why is ex-Arsenal captain and all-time goal scorer doing this? And this is what it was in the Express. It says, Arsenal legend Thierry Henry gives Bournemouth a pep talk before the Gunners showdown. Eddie Howe in hopes an inspirational chat from Thierry Henry will inspire Bournemouth to topple the Frenchman's beloved Arsenal. Henry held a motivational session with Howe's players during a recent trip to the South Coast on behalf of the French Football Federation. What do you make of that?
I mean, I'd wonder how much it's been revved up for the story. I think if you asked Eddie Howe or the Bournemouth players how much Thierry Henry's team talk affected the result on the day, and if you asked Arsene Wenger how much the result on the day, I think all of them would say not very much, because it's one of those things that the newspaper's job, isn't it, to rev up a story. It's a good story, Thierry Henry going there, but how much impact it really had, I can't think it's made a big deal. The fact he's gone to Bournemouth and done it, that's the way it is. Arsenal didn't want to. Only gave Henry, a minor coaching role with the under-18s. He's now doing well with Belgium, coaching their forwards and working with Martinez. And Arsenal's lost if they don't want to get him in. He's free to do what he wants. So I wouldn't read much into that. I think it's just revved up a bit for the paper more than anything else.
Good. You're not back yet, are you, little Gimli? No.
I'm back.
Okay. Oh, he is back.
I am back, yeah.
Did you wash your hands when you were done?
No, it wasn't for a wee or a poo. I just had to get some more tissue because I'm a bit nasally.
Are you getting very excited by all the transfer talk going on?
Not really.
Oh,
I'm a bit out of it. I'm dosing myself up on cold medication.
Good.
Too much.
Is that what they call it these days?
Too much coca.
No, let's just say, Geoff, it's
Coca-Cola,
herbal.
Gim. Coca-Cola.
It's herbal, Geoff. It's herbal. Wind your neck in.
Don't you pick on Geoff. You get away with picking on me, Geoff will come round and sit on you. He ran you over his scooter.
when he wished me happy birthday, he said, I've known Gimli 6 years, not once have we had an argument. Don't make it this once, Geoff.
True.
All right, little Gimli, there's one from you, from old Captain Krabby Shitbeard himself, John Welsh. That's John Welsh 84 on Twitter.
I don't know nothing about foreign football. All he talks about is foreign football.
It could be a sexual deviant
give me
question.
an easy one.
It is an easy one. He says, why are we signing another £50 million striker when we don't pass to the one we've already got? What does this mean? What does this signing mean for Lacazette?
Excellent question.
Basically, I think the vibe that he's gone for is that 2 strikers are better than 1. There's more chance of one of them putting it in the back of the net. That's the only thing I can go for. Is that enough?
That'll
milk me dry.
Bless.
Alexis has done to Man United.
Milk your soul.
For all I'm worth.
Okay, this one is from Tom Douglas. This is for everybody, so I need a yes, no. And as Steve and Jason and Chris aren't here, you probably will just get a yes or a no, people. Fuck me, what a novel idea. Won't go on for an hour about the valleys and fucking dodgy haircuts. And fucking Brexit. Does anybody watch The Undateables?
Yes.
You know that bloke who goes, Kent? Every time anyone I hear Kent, I go, fucking Kent!
Oh, yeah, no, that's Richard. When I haven't got a cold, I could do a good impression of him. Genuinely. No, I can't because I've got a cold. But, okay. Richard off The Undateables, how good is my impression of him?
His twin.
There you go.
What's she say?
Could be his twin.
Oh, lovely. And you are on the spectrum as well. Right, so this is from Tom Douglas to everybody.
Says you, fucking Captain Autistic 2018.
He says, will Arsenal actually sign anyone? I have a feeling it's all smoke and mirrors. So we'll start with Geoff. Do you think we'll sign anyone?
Yeah, definitely.
David?
Yes.
Simon?
We've already signed the Greek boy.
That doesn't count.
Overlooking him. Yeah, we'll sign someone else.
Little Gimli?
Yes, we've signed a Greek boy and we will sell more.
I think we will as well. See, there you go, Jason, Steve, and Chris. That's how you answer a yes/no question, you toilets. Right, question now. Oh, here you go. This is one for Geoff from Martin Hull. If Pierre Boomerang does sign, how will we accommodate Ozil, Lacazette, and Mkhitaryan in the same side?
Terrible thing, hey? What a terrible bit of trouble.
Oh, how will we cope?
How will we cope to have to deal with it? I think he can play all along the top, can't he? Aubameyang. So I'm sure they'll get on with it, mate. You know, I'm sure maybe Aubameyang can drop in, or maybe Lacazette could drop in if Ozil's out to that 10 role or something like that. You know, I'm sure we'll get on with it. But like I say, it's just worry about that when we've got them, mate.
Are you looking forward to having to deal with such a headache of having all these quality attacking players? Should we defend more, Geoff?
well, that is a good point, mate. Yeah.
Do you actually think that with all of these players coming in, Alex Iwobi might actually just stay on the fucking bench?
Stay at home.
You should leave Alex Iwobi out of it, mate. He's still a youngster. It's a shame that everyone on Twitter is killing him before he's, he showed great promise. I think he's a good footballer. Got to give him a chance.
Well, now the Cox left, they need a boo boy, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a new one every week.
Right, David, one for you from Kyle Palmer. I always give David the long ones because he's a thinker. He says, as we seem to be targeting a striker and a playmaker and not any midfielders which we actually need, how excited are you about the idea of playing Ashley Maitland-Niles in midfield? No, that's his brother. He doesn't play football.
You are a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but I've let you get along with a Boomerang for so long now. I'll be honest with you, Danny.
Yeah.
It's fucking irritating.
Is it?
And the Ashley stuff you've been doing for at least the last 4 months.
You know.
Everyone corrects you. You do it on purpose. It's not funny. Snap out of it. You're making yourself look like a right cunt.
Do you know the sense of satisfaction I get when podcasts and I hear them actually saying Chuppa? Oh no, Chuppa, oh Chuppa, and then it won't be long before they're calling him Ashley, and then his mum will call him Ashley. Then no one will know what the hell's going on.
Just where we're on Maitland-Niles, did you see him come out and his comments about liking him to Patrick Vieira? I mean, I know there's confidence in a footballer, but shut your face. You look like a right dick.
I'll have forgotten the first half of the question in a minute.
Okay, right. Just to summarise, it says we're getting strikers and playmakers. We're not getting the midfielders we need. Are you? Do you like the idea of Maitland-Niles playing in midfield? And can you see this working out? And would this be a mistake relying on someone so young in such a key area? And he says, "I love you guys. Looking forward to the next pod."
Right. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. I've got to say at this point, I thought tonight my job was going to be playing the kind of antichrist because everybody is very positive and I'm the only one that might have different views, although I respect everybody else on the cast. But I have to agree with the inference in the question. I do agree that we need something different in midfield. I do think it's a very good idea to probably play Ainsley Maitland-Niles in place of Granit Xhaka for a while. Let Granit go away, lick his wounds, settle in, do some hard work in training and earn his place back again. Because I think he's struggled over the last couple of months. And I think Maitland-Niles has shown with his build, with his ability to tackle, with his ability to carry the ball, that he could be an answer in there. And he probably is the reason why we haven't gone in for a very obvious vacancy in the team. But of course, that depends on us having a left back. And apparently we're going to have Nacho Monreal available to us this week. And Kolasinac can't be far off. So I do agree. Yes, Maitland-Niles is probably saved us a few quid in the window, at least until the summer. But great question.
Very good answer, David. That's why you get the difficult ones. Gimli just gets yes or no questions. Don't say it, you little ginger shit.
That's all right. We'll get you to start pronouncing names of people properly. And see how long you last before you die on your arse, you twat.
One for Simon from Miko. He says, not really a question per se, but after you seeing VAR used in a few games now in England and as well, I'd like to hear your opinions, especially interested in hearing what David and Geoff think. Well, there you go. So start off with Simon, then Geoff and David can have a chat.
So you give the question to me for fun.
Oh, and actually, no, you two answer that, and then I'll give you. I didn't read these beforehand. I don't need to proofread it. It might as well have just said, for everybody other than Simon, what do you think of VAR? So, Geoff, go on. What do you think of VAR?
I think you've got, like anything, you've got to give it time. There's going to be a few problems at the start, but I'm sure they'll get it right. I think it'd be better if they get the crowd involved early doors, you know. But I think we've got to go that way, mate. We've definitely got to go that way, because you know what, we'd most probably be second or third if we had VAR this season. I'm sure we would. So I'm all for it, mate.
David?
Yeah, can't really add a great deal to that other than emphasise the point that you do need to get the people inside the stadium involved more. It's what rugby does well. It's what cricket does well. Football is scared to death of showing controversial incidents on the big screen at the point at which they happen. And that's a drag back to the days when you would expect supporters to interact rather differently to what they might do today. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I've been banging the drum for VAR for a long time. From what we've seen of it so far, all right, it's only a handful of games.
Oh, good. Simon, have you any thoughts on it? Because I noticed last night he had his finger to his ear, which is the internationally accepted sign for I'm talking to someone at Stansted, and then he did the window with his fingers. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I like its inclusion, and I think with technology you've got to have it in there. The only thing that frustrates me from a working aspect and when I go as a fan to games is just not knowing when the referee's using it. Because you guys at home, it might be a bit more clearer, but we don't get any in the stadium. There's no sort of indication that VAR is being used or the referee's checking something. So I mean, whether it can be done with something as simple as on the big screen you just put VAR in use, or so the fans are aware. They don't have to show the incident because I know they don't want the controversy of that, but at least know so that everyone know it's being used rather than everyone going, oh, did he check that? Has it been checked? And that causes confusion. And the only other thing I would have is if there is some dialogue between the ref and the VAR official, whether obviously I know the referee's mic's turned off during the match to outside use simply because of the swearing from players and stuff. But if it could be turned on for that, 2 minutes, which is feasible just by flicking a button, and the fans at home and everyone else could hear what was going on, I think that would bring greater transparency and make it better. So those would be my tweaks to it. But otherwise, I think you've got to use it because the technology is there. Okay,
well, here's a question for you that isn't explicitly saying not for Simon, from El Comandante, who should hopefully, Raul will be coming on a radio show very soon. Is either him or Stan for the Chelsea second leg. So if you two are listening, get your shit sorted out and I'll have one of you on. He says, is the latest activity the work of Sven Mistletoe and less of that of Wenger? These links of Mkhitaryan and a Boomerang and Arsenal referring to Mav as, and he quotes, the Greek boy, all seemed like Mistletoe is calling more of the shots.
You can't say Mislintat either.
No, I can't
Honestly.
read Mislintat.
Mislintat. His name fucking Mistletoe. Are you actually special needs?
Well, I can park where I want at Tesco's, so fuck you. He says, all seems like Mislintat is calling more of the shots, and does this look like the end of Arsene Wenger or just more delegation?
Better.
Thank you very much.
I would definitely agree that it's an indication of Sven Mislintat as his influence on the signings, because we obviously saw Mavropanos was one of his picks.
Don't show off.
And
you see, Simon got it right because he's not a pork pie short of an amper.
Yeah,
because he's top quality.
I normally have a Mavropanos with garlic mayo at the end of a night.
Oh, look at
hello.
Oh, he's going for it. He's going for it. Go on, give us a Kolasinac.
No, I do agree. I think because Wenger obviously calling him the Greek boy is something I noticed for about 3 press conferences. He kept calling him the Greek boy and saying he looked good in training rather than his actual name, which gave an indication of how much he'd said on that. And we've spoken already about the Dortmund links, but Mkhitaryan was someone that Mislintat discovered through his scouting when he was playing for Shakhtar. Same with Aubameyang when he was at Saint Etienne. So they're clearly Mislintat signing, and also the fact we're being so proactive in the window is very unlike us. You know, I mean, normally we come on here in January and we do a deadline day podcast, and we're sort of, you know, getting excited about Kim Kallstrom coming in when he's got a broken back. So I think the fact the recruitment's clearly changed because we're so active, it's so very un-Arsene. And also the Malcolm is probably the third one that we talked about, who was one player that Dortmund tried to get in the summer through Mislintat. So I would have to say he's clearly got an influence and clearly got working. And the thing that I like about him is that he's identified his targets. They're gettable targets. They're not like in the summer when we were talking about Mbappe and other people can say that was gettable. But in reality, it was us, as Dom says, you know, we were chasing unicorns when we should go for horses. This feels like straight away Mislintat's come in and said, right, look, these are the guys we can get. Let's go and get them. And I think that's an important change for us going forward, realising we can't compete at that top table with City and the others.
Jolly good. Gimli, as you're poorly, I'll give you a quick question from Josh Millington. Do you think Johnny Evans would be a good signing for us? And I'm going to add on the end of that, if so, why?
You can't question he was with Man United. He's won trophies. He knows what it's like to play at the biggest stage. I think with Koscielny's Achilles injury, Mertesacker going to train the youngsters, anyone's welcome, but someone with a bit of pedigree, even more so. I think Mavropanos will be superb, but obviously he's, you know, a couple of years away. So Johnny Evans, someone that we could have until they're 34 that could come in and do an instant job used to the Premier League. Fantastic. Absolutely. Bring it on.
I agree with you completely. Quick one here for everybody. Another yes, no, from Matt Sanasi, S-A-N-A-S-I, Sanasi?
Yeah,
Sanasi. Yeah,
Australian, I believe.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, good day to you, sir. Right, this is a quick one. We'll start with Geoff. Would you finish 10th this season if it meant Arsene left?
What a fucking stupid question. What a stupid question.
Fucking Australian foreigners. What do they know, Geoff?
No, I won't go that far. What a stupid question. We won't. First of all, we won't be finishing 10th. No way in the world. But we've got a chance in the cups as well. So we'll see what happens. You never know. We might turn it around. Dan.
There you go. We might not.
Might turn it around.
Mr. Hollick, what do you think?
You're going to get more than one word from me as well. The one word would be no, obviously. But I reading between the lines, got a feeling we won't be seeing Mr. Wenger next season anyway. That's just an opinion, but based on what we're seeing at the moment, new structure being put in, clearly for his successor, little things and pieces that are going on are just... Today he didn't come out and say, no, he's not leaving in the summer when that possibility was put forward. So let's wait and see.
Simon? The wordsmith?
No.
Fucking hell, there you go. Gimli?
I happen to think that you might see Carlo Ancelotti as the main man at Arsenal. No.
Lovely.
I'm going to say it because it needs saying. I happen to think that with all the changes going on at the moment, that we will almost certainly see a new manager at Arsenal next season.
Are you saying something is afoot?
I believe I might be.
Oh, dear boy. I'd finish fucking relegated if it means getting rid of Wenger. Just imagine next season running away with the championship. No, it's not going to happen.
So you're the only yes then.
We're 13 points ahead. I don't think it needs me to do it. Us to finish 10th to get rid of the poor boy. He's been magnificent, but sometimes, sometimes it's a good time to hang up your hat, and we're 13 points ahead of 10th.
I feel it is important also that we do say that we don't disrespect Arsene Wenger and all that he's done from the club. I mean, he has brought a wonderful style of play. He changed English football. He won us trophies. He graced Arsenal with some of the best footballers that we could ever hope to see. We were at one point the envy of British football. And I think we can only congratulate that. And in the final word, anyone who says that Arsene Wenger isn't the greatest ever manager that Arsenal Football Club has had is a fucking idiot. There you go. That's
I'm not
it.
sure quite go that far.
Here.
Premier League manager, I'll let you have. There's only even a couple of others. So next question is going to be, we're going back round. Everyone's getting one more. Where was I at this? Okay, this is... Okay, this one for you, Geoff, from Mark Zarb Cousin. He says, if it's a straight swap, Sanchez for that guy who can't get in the Man United team, do you think Arsenal have once again been shafted by Man United? Controversial.
No, not really, because we're in a bit of a situation, aren't we, with regards to, he's out of contract at the end of the season. So... I would have a swap with him if he had to. It's just a straight swap. I would do it. It's got to be positive. I think he's a top player, the kid. So, there's one out, one in. I know he's not going to score as many goals, but anyway, that's my view on it.
Lovely.
We got Aubameyang for the goals, Geoff. Don't you worry about that.
Hope so, mate.
Right, one for you now, David, from Noir Confidential, who is new to Twitter, but always has decent questions. I think he's new. I haven't seen much of him. He says, could it be that all the transfer stories are bullshit invented by our PR team as they want the club to be seen as one having anything remotely resembling ambition? It's one from the dark side.
There's a question, eh? Let me answer it in one word and say no, but... Let me qualify that. I think there have been stories put out in the past through various channels, to get that impression, exactly that impression put out. I don't think that's the case this summer, but also so they could find out which channels they could trust and which ones they couldn't. I've probably gone too far with that answer.
Oh, that's sneaky, that is. I'm weeding them out. Okay, one for Simon. Here we go, from Jackalaka. It says, do you think a Boomerang and Mkhitaryan are actually a smoke screen for Solomon Kalou?
I don't know, how old is Kalou now? What is he like?
42?
Must be about 58 or something.
51 or something like that, any surely.
If they are a smoke screen, then it's a fucking greatest smoke screen of all time, because no one's got wind of it.
51 is still do better than Theo, I fancy.
Yeah.
Maybe he
could do a job at centre half or left wing back or something.
Fucking anyone could do a job at centre half at Arsenal, mate. Danny, get your boots ready, boy. You got to pump your tyres up.
I think anybody has been doing the job at centre back for us. Final question from Matt LR28 to our very own little Matty. He says, I know it freaks you out when I say that. He says, Bergkamp has been fired from Ajax. Would you bring him in? And also, Sol Campbell has said he'd love to be coaching at the Arsenal. What are your thoughts? Are you on mute? Oh,
is that me?
Yes.
My honest thoughts would be, and it sounds critical, but we see Steve Bold sat there as assistant manager, but yet the team can't defend for toffee. I mean, if he's not teaching them how to defend, then what the actual fuck is he doing at Arsenal Football Club? We said the other week that we'd probably all welcome Tony Pulis to come in and drill our defenders. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, cheeky.
But I can't honestly see how Sol Campbell could do any harm by coming in and teaching the defenders. And I'm sorry, but Steve Bold, what do you do?
Who is he?
I mean, if anyone wants to come in on that, Geoff, what does Steve Bold actually do? If he doesn't coach our defenders, what the fuck is he doing there?
Well, you've got a point. There's been a lot said about it. I mean, in pre-season and even during the season for corners and stuff like that, he'll take the defenders and try and get the shape right. Obviously for the, the free kicks and corners.
Well, he's. I'll tell you what, Geoff. If he is, he's fucking failing miserably. Did you see?
They don't spend a lot of time on it. They don't spend a lot of time on it. But that's Wenger, isn't it? He'd rather coach a side to attack and score goals than defend, and I think it's wrong. It's a criticism that I've had of him for a while now.
Just out of curiosity, Geoff, and you know from doing this podcast for many years that you have come under intense criticism from the listeners of this show for always being a staunch advocate of Arsene Wenger. Now, where do you stand in the whole thing? Do you think that we do need to change this? Do you think that maybe, like I said, and we've already discussed, he's been fantastic for us, but maybe it's time to let somebody else have a go? What's your thoughts?
I just think that the people are totally bored. I just think they want change. They want change for the sake of change, and I'm not like that. I don't buy into that. I don't think Wenger is that bad that you need to just change for the sake of change. If you can give me a manager, throw me up a manager that that could that's got something and could come in and you think he could do a job, I'd have a run with it, no problem. But at the minute, you got, and I don't necessarily think anything is going to change anyway. We're still only going to be third, fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe. I don't think we're going to be able to compete for the Premier League. We might fluke a Champions League or something like that if we get a good side together. But I honestly don't think anything will change until there's proper investment. I mean, look, Sanchez has been offered 400 or 500 grand a week to move to a rival. How can we compete with that? Come on.
Can't.
No, I mean,
according to the man himself today, we can compete on the pitch, which is the important part about that, Geoff. But I do take your point entirely, and the investment one, it looks like we're going to just have to suck it up and put up with it, because you've got an owner who's not a very much hands-on owner, who's happy with the club as an investment himself. So I really don't see a change from the very top. There's nothing that would persuade him, I suspect, to sell the club at the moment while it's still a growing investment for him. So from that point of view, I think the only change we will see is in the managerial chair, as I've just said.
I do think, when Wenger said that today, I think he was saying that because he does believe that he can create a side that can compete, but I don't. I think he said it earlier on. You can't compete with them for financials, can you?
Yeah, and in fact, it looks very much as though he is not compiling the side to compete, but someone else is.
From afar. Simon, what have you just put in our chat box? Bit of breaking news.
BBC Africa, or correspondent for them, a legitimate correspondent, not some sort of Twitter made up chap, has just tweeted saying, well, he tweeted a couple of hours ago but missed it, saying Aubameyang is, in quotes, absolutely relieved to be on his way out of Dortmund. Transfer fee agreed with Arsenal, 60 million euros. Yearly salary, 10 million euros. Giroud to be part of deal depending on final terms. Aubameyang doesn't want to play for Dortmund anymore. Relationship untenable. Aubameyang to Arsenal until 2021. About 10 million euros for 3 years, but just over 3 million euros annually. Wenger promised him world-class reinforcements in the summer. Aubameyang sees it as last chance to get dream move to Real Madrid.
What, via Arsenal?
Via Arsenal, yeah.
So he wants to go to Real Madrid, using it as a stepping stone.
So it would seem.
Oh, that's not really. That's not on. He's 20. He ain't going to Real Madrid.
Something decidedly fishy about the whole thing, because I also don't believe he would be on anywhere near that money at Dortmund. They don't pay that.
No, because Bayern Munich are almost famous for the amount of money they don't have to pay players to get them there.
Absolutely.
They're kind of.
What he meant is the 10 million is for the duration of his contract, not yearly at Arsenal. That's the cost of the whole contract. So it's 3 million, just over 3 million a year at Arsenal.
Really?
Euros.
Seems cheap, that.
No, that can't be. Sol Campbell was on better than that. I know we didn't pay a transfer fee for him, but that sounds crazy.
We shall find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just £3 million. That's 250 grand a week if it's on £3 million a year. 250 grand a month. Divided that by 4. Then
it's Carl Jenkinson's salary.
That's 62,500 a week. You're on more than that, Geoff. Yeah.
My missus is. I'm not, mate. Trust me. I don't know what I get.
Just this. I'm just going to read this out just because it made me laugh out loud to mute myself. Someone called Neil Burgess just tweeted, Ryan Giggs wore his brother's dressing gown more times than he did a Wales shirt.
Thought you were going to mute yourself.
Oh, no. Oh, that's just for Jace. Yes. So where are we now? Have we got one more? No, that's all the questions. So thank you also to Duncan Burnett, Fenny Boy, Matt Sisson, Rob AFC, Tone, Jonathan Searle, Trenry, who I recognise that name from the radio shows, Kathy Duxey, and Skirfkin for all your questions. We haven't had time because we've been going just over an hour and a half, Gimli. So we've only got two predictions to do, which I'm sure you know what they are.
I certainly do. That would be Palace at home and Chelsea at home. So I'm going to start with mine, and I'm going to go first. And I'm going to go Palace at home, 2-0 Aubameyang. And do you know what? I don't even fucking care if he's signed by then. That's what I'm going for, just because I can. And Chelsea at home, I'm going 2-1 to Arsenal. Mesut Ozil first scorer. Danny, let's have your two.
3-0 for the Palace game, Lacazette. And for the Chelsea game, they are in a shit run of form at the moment, and they've got half their team missing now. So I had thought that maybe they're going to do them, but I ain't going to go 0-0. We're going to win on penalties. Now, will it go to penalties? Or no, it'll go to extra time, then penalties, won't it? Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a long, boring game, and the radio show isn't going to start until the next day. There you go. That's all I've got. Is that enough?
Lovely. Yeah, no, that's enough. Geoff?
Yes, I think it'll be 2-0 Lacazette, the Crystal Palace match. I reckon we'll beat Chelsea 3-2 after extra time. Goal scorer in that one, Bellerin.
Wonderful. David?
Palace, I'll go 2-1. Goal scorer, let's go Koscielny. Try a bit left field. Chelsea at home, I'm kind of like Danny. We talking about 90 minutes or at the end of extra time?
Either way.
Whatever you want to call it.
90 minutes, I'll go for 1-1 and Danny Welbeck.
Marvellous. And Simon?
Palace, I'm going to go for 1-0 Welbeck. And for Chelsea, I'm going to go 2-0 and Aubameyang to score on his debut.
Are you going to be at any of those games, Simon?
No, I'm going to Leicester v someone at the weekend. Leicester v Watford, maybe, I think. And I might be at the Arsenal game, but I'm not sure yet. If not, I shall be watching.
I'll be at both, representing the Bergkamp Wonderland.
Hey,
I think
David, can I ask you what do you think the final score will be though, with regard to Chelsea?
I think we'll win it in extra time.
Good lad.
It's always so positive.
Come on.
I think that Palace game will be tough. I think though, because they're doing all right at the moment.
Absolutely.
Certainly are.
It has been a positive podcast, though, I feel. I mean, it could have otherwise been miserable. I mean, I've been quite miserable. But I feel it's been...
It's only towards me, though.
Not towards you. I just hate everybody. But I've enjoyed the show. Genuinely, I have enjoyed the show. And I hope people that are listening have enjoyed the show too. And if you have, please give us a like or a thumbs up. Or if you don't listen to us regularly, please subscribe to the show. It is very much appreciated. So we're going to move on to shout-outs now. I haven't got this one this week because I just hate everybody. But Danny, I know you probably have.
I have. I was busy doing stuff from the podcast account, and I said, okay, I'm drinking from my favourite set of mugs. I don't know who makes them, but they're lovely. And the one I was using at the time, I said, what colour's the inside of it? And it was yellow. So that's Billy Caffrey, and he is at CAFFREY 1000. Well done, sir. You are a winner of
lovely
bugger
stuff. Simon.
My shout out goes to our very own Chris Carpenter. And it's just a reminder, people, that there are 13 days left in the transfer window. So that is 13 days left for you to pester him and pillar him for his ITK knowledge. Because after that, he'll be keeping quiet. So get on it.
I was going to say, don't get your hopes up.
Seri's coming. He was coming in the summer.
He might go to Man United or Man City.
I know.
Chris will stop himself.
He hasn't even got long hair to wipe the tears away anymore, has he?
No, he's got bangs, though, hasn't he? He's got his little bangs.
He said he was out jogging the other day and the car full of blokes bibbed at him, and then he realised it wasn't a bird.
Did I see him put in the WhatsApp group yesterday that he got a new haircut?
Oh, I think receding hairline doesn't count, does it? It's nature's way. It's all going on its own.
I still like.
Hang on, mate. That's a bit rich coming from you. You got a hell of a part in.
It's just a little bit, yes. Oh dear, I've been shown up there, haven't I? I'm poking the pokerball.
You've been made to look like a right tit.
That's
Again.
getting cut out, I know.
No, leave it all in.
No, don't cut it out. You can't cut it out. Right, Geoff.
Yes.
A shout out.
Yeah. Twitter. Okay. Go. At Dan Likes Merch, MERCH. It's just the last person that I interacted with on Twitter, so that's how I normally do it. He's a good lad. It's quite funny. My last interaction with him, he used to work in a phone shop and he used to follow me, waste all his money on obviously refreshing my Twitter page during the previous transfer windows back in the day. So he's quite funny as that. So follow him. Good fun.
Lovely stuff. So, Danny, is there anything else you want to talk about this week? Any bowel movements or anything like that?
My incidents with the chicken sausages. No, I've not eaten yet today. I'm going to go and have myself my own weight in steak later. What's this the rumours I've heard that you want to do a transfer deadline show or two on my mum's birthday?
It depends on a lot of things, Danny.
A lot of things.
I did ask the listeners earlier.
Yes.
Or I tweeted from the podcast account if they'd like to see a deadline day show this year. I mean, it is possible to do one.
Yes.
But I feel it would be wrong for us to break a tradition because we have done one every window.
We didn't do one last January.
Did we not?
I don't know. I lose track. It's been so long.
But we normally do one. And that was our thing, like transfer updates throughout the window, and it was mostly a shit day, but we tried to sprinkle a little bit of humour throughout the day.
A little bit of shitter on the glitter.
Yeah,
glitter on the
AFTV
shitter.
fucking copied us, and now
I think we should do one anyway, just for the sake of it. Win, lose or draw.
Maybe even if it's just one in the evening, a live one where we can just say, okay, this is what we actually got and this is where we're at. I think that's what we should do and try and get everyone that takes part in this podcast. And if they don't, they're sacked. apart from you, Geoff. I mean, I know you'll turn up, but you are literally the Mesut Ozil of this podcast. We cannot afford to lose you.
No, fuck off, Kim.
Fucks off when it's cold, comes back when it's warm. Hello.
It sounds a bit like Raj, that.
He's been shit all season, mate. Thanks for that. No, he hasn't. His albums.
Yeah, so maybe do
Right.
one in the day for the listeners, and then maybe do one later in the night, depending on whether I'm going to be taking my mum out. She'll be 74, I think. Bless her.
Yeah, that's what we should do. We should pick
Yes.
5 listeners. So if you're interested in taking part on the Deadline Day podcast, just drop us a DM and we'll kind of see what interest there is. Because if we get a couple of people, then we'll do one. If we get more than a couple of people, then we'll do a few. But you must have a headset, a microphone, and Wi-Fi that doesn't plug into a tree.
Yeah.
Is Raj Patel still under contract with us? Or
No,
what?
permanently. I've got pictures of him doing stuff with a box of Ferrero Rochers that would make your heart break.
What's he doing? Where is he? Was he
He was on
last
last week.
What's he on? The
Yeah, I was
heart
gonna-
on it or something? Was he on last week?
Yeah,
you
well
not
done, Geoff.
listen,
God.
Jeff?
Oh,
You
Even-
did
he-
listen, Jeff. Yeah.
Even
Mate, I
David listened on his
Caught out.
birthday.
Mate, I was otherwise engaged in the Caribbean last week. I'm sure I'll be listening
Well,
to
they got no Wi-Fi in the Caribbean.
I have, but you know, it's a different time zone and all that. I'm on the beach.
Seriously, Jeff,
No, I
I'm
don't want
I'm
to Gimli swearing down the phone.
just expecting you to the next episode of the Highbury Heels podcast, and that's you fucking gone. Signed,
That's
sealed,
gonna go
delivered. You're fucked off.
That's
it.
Go on. Is that
Oh, have they really?
Of course, yeah.
Oh,
He's a big name.
Is it? I mean, is it even worth trying to offer you a contract to make up for that? I mean, I'm sure I can give you a couple of Rolos and a Viscount.
And a few
You
snotty
know what?
tissues.
I'm dreaming of the nice cream slice that I've got in the fridge waiting for me. To be honest with you.
Get on with it, Kim. The man's in need.
We can't even compete with
No.
that. Goodbye, Jeff. It's been nice
No.
knowing
No,
you.
Thank you very
you're right.
much.
All right, no, you're all right.
So all that's left then is to thank my wonderful guests tonight, Geoff, David, and Simon. Danny, you had to be here.
And thank you for turning up from your deathbed.
Yeah,
I
thank
know.
you, mate. Very good. Enjoyed it.
I know. I've enjoyed it too, and I'm going back to bed. So wonderful. So that was a Aubameyang Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Get down, dog.
Goodbye. And here's some more shenanigans after the podcast ended.
Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Get down, dog.
Goodbye.
Couldn't have ended it better.
That was really good. Yeah, I think people do prefer it when it's we don't get negative. There's no point. We just try and discuss it. No one at any point screamed they hated Wenger, then 5 minutes later screamed they love him. For
I'm
attention.
sure you don't because I'm on. You know.
There's no point, is there? It's not going to change anything. I doubt very much they
You
listen or care.
sure just give me that respect. You should just fucking go for it, mate, and let me come back. You know, it's
you-
all right.
did you-
I don't mind. You know.
Did you
Hey,
see what
Jeff.
Did you see what Raj called the podcast?
No.
He called it the All Is Well podcast when the lineup was announced.
I know what he means, and I was going to try and be a little bit more negative tonight, but the kind of opportunity to be negative wasn't really there, was it?
We didn't lay it on a plate for you.
We've had such a good week in terms of transfers and what seems to be going on. It's hard to be negative.
We haven't lost for nearly 5 days. That's good.
All
We
I'm
haven't got him
saying,
over the line yet.
all I'm
it's true.
saying is they better fucking come good with those transfers
Mm.
because if
Right,
Aubameyang and or Mkhitaryan aren't signed and Alexis is gone, I will be shitting blood on next week's podcast if I'm not in jail.
Imagine if Aubameyang rocked up at Chelsea or something like that. Fucking hell, Twitter would just implode.
Don't even go there.
You can
Still,
still
they don't
do
need
it.
him. They got Andy Carroll, haven't they?
Yeah.
Have you seen tonight? They've made an inquiry for Peter Crouch.
That can't be. It's got to be a parody, mate. Got to be
That's
a parody.
not a promise.
No.
It's not Telegraph.
No, it's not. Kate
reporting it.
just showed me that.
Why?
Nice.
What they want to
Guy,
get someone
everyone's-
get it out the net when the ball's stuck at the top?
They want a target man, so they go over crouching.
Fucking hell.
You know.
Imagine
Oh.
Peter Crouch, fucking 36 at Chelsea.
Madness.
God.
Who said that? The Telegraph.
All of them, all reporting it. So Chelsea have obviously briefed, or someone's briefed someone. So
Madness.
That would be our equivalent of the years when we signed Ray Hankin and John Hawley and Lee Chapman.
Chris
Anybody
Colombia.
who played the Leeds, we had them.
That's just worse than Mikel Silvestre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Okay, now.
Worse than Sonogo.
Wow, that is amazing. Amazing.
Someone's put, if Chelsea sign Peter Crouch, then football will never, ever, ever be topped again. My God.
It's true.
That explains it. I saw earlier there was a tweet with a photograph of 2 giraffes walking through the savannah, and they said there it was Crouch and Carroll on their way to Chelsea.
I mean, if Conte's going, I mean, what a disaster to leave them in. Those two playing fucking volleyball with each other for 90 minutes.
Oh, can you imagine? That's his perfect revenge.
Well, I think they wanted Carroll, but I think West Ham wanted like 25 million for Carroll.
Well, they probably thought they were joking. You want 500 million for him.
Surely, though, that's got to be Conte wants to leave. That's him trolling them. That's like me going, my parting gift to you is going to be a 6'4" giraffe.
On a 5-year deal or whatever, or something crazy.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Give him 200 grand a week just for shits and giggles.
Surely Abramovich ain't going to suffer that. Surely not. Surely.
You probably will.
Fuck's sake. Anyway, go on. I'm going to let you go, boys. Well done. All very good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good man,
Cheers,
Geoff. Me too,
Good luck,
mate.
boys.
Jeff.
See you later. God bless. Bye-bye.
Cheers, David.
Take care,
Cheers,
buddy.
David.
Yeah, I'll see you too. Be good, fellas.
Oh,
All right, see you later.
Oh, how do I turn off on this bloody thing?
Press the red thing.
The big red button.
Let's go for that.
Beautiful.
Adios.
Right.
Oh, Twitter is going to be going crazy. I'm just going to tweet, announce Peter Crouch and leave it at that. Hashtag announce Crouch. Oh, dear.
I'm not going to be too much longer either because I actually do feel like death.
Probably check your booty. But oi, Conte, I can play as a target man. I want 15 grand a week though. Oh no, it's mad. Imagine they did sign him. Chelsea fans are going to go mental. They'll be scratching at their kennels trying to get out.
Danny,
Can you
what
imagine
time?
if we
Sorry,
signed
what
Crouch?
time? Well, we wouldn't sign him. What time do I tell people tonight that this is going out? There's no editing.
No editing because you lot are all pros. Yeah, so it all depends on how quickly. Shut up, Echo. Shut up. Shut. It all depends on how quickly YouTube and SoundCloud let you upload the file. Because sometimes that can take half an hour. Sometimes it can be 2 or 3 minutes, and there's no rhyme nor reason with it all.
Okay.
Someone's just tweeted, who's this? Squid Boy wants to see Maitland-Niles play in front of the back four. He can't play there. That's not his bloody position.
No, he is a centre mid though, Danny.
He's more of a winger, wasn't he? Huh?
Yeah, but I think Wenger thinks he'll play centre mid eventually.
That's what we said about the Ox, and look where that got us. 40 million quid!
Yeah, fucking
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
right.
Right. I'm going as well because I do feel like shit. So, thank you very much, Danny.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, Simon. I appreciate you coming on, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers
Right,
for the bullying, Gim.
All right, thank you very much. I'll be back next week. Hopefully, touch wood.
Yes, you leave your wood alone. That's
Yes.
what Kate's there for.
Yeah.
Well, for the fire.
Not with a bad leg.
Oh no! Is that cleared up yet?
Nearly. Very
It's
nearly.
itchy.
Yeah, as fuck.
Fucking bastard thing. You've been moisturiser on it.
I know, I am moisturising it, yeah.
And don't put scented moisturiser on there though, because that'll make it itch more.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going.
Cheers, you two.
Cheers,
Right,
boys.
cheers, Daddy.
See you later.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers,
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.